We turn to somebody who's just gotten back from Europe for her own trip to really inspect what's going on there with respect to the war in Ukraine. She is Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Republican of West Virginia. So, Senator, thank you so much for joining us. We all have the experience that we can read about a situation, read about a place, but until you go, you don't really fully understand it. You've just come back on Sunday, I believe, from going over to Poland and Germany. What did you learn?
Well, you are absolutely right, David. When we stepped foot in Germany to begin with, you could feel the intensity of which this Ukrainian situation is being felt all over Europe and with our NATO allies. You know, they promised their sons and daughters that you would never see something like this again. And here we have an immoral and unjust war. So the military aspect of this is enormous. The needs in Ukraine are huge, both on the military humanitarian side. We did go down and visit with some refugees. Very stark and startling and very, very sad. Well,
it's very sad as we watch the images from a distance here. What more can be done, should be done?
We should be, number one, we should be supplying them with more military weapons. They're asking for more anti-aircraft missiles. They're asking for helicopters, Stingers, Javelins. You know, we did provide an aid package, and that a lot of those things are moving. But the problem is, it's every day counts. We can't wait a week. We can't wait 10 days. They need all of these reinforcements immediately. And so the urgency of now, I think, was very, very apparent. The issues that the Poles are dealing with are tremendous. They have stepped up to the plate like I've never seen with humanitarian and military assistance. And so we have to support them through our NATO partnership. And I think, but the urgency and more is where we came away from this.
As President Biden works his way over to Brussels right now, there are questions about further sanctions, enhancing the sanctions. Are there sanctions that, in your view, that could be imposed that would even increase the pressure on Russia from where it is now?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we have to look at other ways to pressure the oligarchs. These are Putin's friends. They are also tied to the businesses, the Western businesses. So we need to further impose those and make them more stringent. You know, a lot of them have properties in New York or in this country. Let's look at really ratcheting down the pressure on them, because I think internal pressure in Russia is one thing that we need to try to exert as much influence as we can, and sanctions do that.
One of the things people talk about is a European embargo on oil and gas, fossil fuels. We heard Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany, just yesterday in the Bundestag saying that would really crater his economy. Is it realistic to actually even ask the Europeans to do that?
Well, I think we do need to be realistic, and if we have a Europe that can't get their energy resources, that's going to impact any ability to defend, because there is an underlying thought that if Putin were to be successful in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians are going to fight to the death, that was very much apparent to us as we were over there. But if that were to happen, you know, he's not going to stop there. And then if Europe is crippled because they don't have energy resources because of their own political decisions, that I think is probably not in the global interest. You know, they're buying West Virginia coal now. They want it. They're building 2 LNG terminals in Germany. So this just tells our country that independence and security means energy security.
You were over there, as we say, in Germany and Poland. Give us your sense from having talked to these people. Is the NATO alliance strong?
Oh, the NATO alliance, I think, has coalesced together like nobody really expected. I think by a couple things. Seeing that Putin is ruthless and will attack hospitals and children, that from a frame of reference, a moral frame of reference, really unites. But also the thing I was talking about, if Putin's successful here, he's going to be going into the Baltic states or Moldova or Poland or other areas that border that Ukrainian nation. So that's why it's important to not just arm our Ukrainian friends with the ability to stay in the fight. We have to arm them with enough to win this fight. And NATO is very much, I think, in aligned with those kind of directives and those kinds of objectives.
Senator, obviously, as you said, the overwhelming burden here is on the Ukrainian people and also on the refugees fleeing into places like Poland. At the same time, there is some effects being felt back here in the United States, particularly in prices at the pump. Are there things that we can or should be doing to try to ameliorate some of that pressure?
You know, it's interesting. We just had a hearing on this. I mean, we see gas up over $4.09 in West Virginia, over $4.24 nationwide just today. So it's going up. But there were a lot of things that happened in the run-up to this war that the Biden administration has not let us drill on federal lands, has stopped some of the permitting that's going on. I mean, we need to really unleash our energy innovation. We can do this in a much cleaner and cleaner way than almost anybody else. And so why wouldn't we become more self-reliant? And what I think that means is more supply, in domestic supply, natural gas, oil, coal, nuclear, renewables, all of that.
Senator, as we look at you up there on Capitol Hill, we're mindful of the fact there's another event happening right now, and it's historic. It's the first black woman ever nominated to the Supreme Court of the United States in Ketanji Brown Jackson. I know you're not in the Judiciary Committee. I also know you've met with the judge. Give us your take on her qualifications to be on the high court.
I did meet with the judge, and I think she's very qualified. She's a stellar individual and has a lot of her colleagues in the legal community think very, very highly of her. My issues are what we're seeing being fleshed out in the Judiciary Committee today. What is her judicial philosophy? What does she think about the balance of powers? Because these are the ultimate decisions that the Supreme Court makes that impact my state, you know, say on the energy front or other areas that I'm particularly concerned about. So I think that she's shown that she has the sort of liberal philosophy that you would expect President Biden to come forward with. I'm keeping an open mind. I was delighted to meet her, and I think we should all be proud that we have a nominee, an African-American woman nominee. I think that is historic, and I am celebrating that.
So just finally here, I know that you are concerned about balance of power, as you just said, in particular the role of the executive, that is to say the president, the extent to which that's really been expanded. That's a problem for both Republicans and Democrats, isn't it? President Trump used the executive orders quite a bit as well.
It is. It is a problem, and I think that when the embedded bureaucracy begins to make all of the decisions, they take away our lawmaking authorities, and in some cases we're ceding those because we don't come to the, we don't come to the table and actually negotiate this out. But at the same time, executive overreach is not, in my opinion, is not healthy no matter what your political affiliation.
Senator, it's always a pleasure to have you with us, and also very informative. Thank you. That's Senator Shelley Moore Capito. She is Republican of West Virginia.